introduction, skip ahead 2 minutes. But if you do want an introduction, I have important things to tell you, such as I painted a pumpkin. It's Halloween weekend. So I did a face on one side, and then I did a unicorn with hearts on the other. And also, I have a scrunchie today for the first time since I think the 90s. I have lived long enough to remember when these were the height of fashion and then like the worst thing you could wear. So it's back for the first time since the 90s. Also, I still have the pink hair. I have my Lisa Frank shirt, which is cool because I'm from Tucson. So my generation was like, when she was making this stuff, they would actually come to our classroom and like test stuff out on us. So that's cool. And I'm going to start exercising. So I got this cool yoga towel, which is great because it's washable. Being a Virgo, I don't like germs. I'm forced to have carpets in this apartment because it's just like in the lease that you have to because it reduces noise. So that way I can put this on the floor and then wash it so it doesn't get too gross and germy. And yeah, it's Halloween weekend, so I'm going to be a unicorn. So I'm super excited about that. And if you guys want to paint a pumpkin, you can just use a Sharpie and acrylic paint. And there you go. So as most of you know, I'm a life coach here in Manhattan. My website is yourdreamslifecoach.com. And this is a life coaching topic today. This is the kind of thing that I actually do work on with my clients. So go to yourdreamslifecoach.com if you're interested in coaching on this topic. So the topic today, what do you do about breakups? So this is my kind of survival kit that I use with my clients. And of course, we can't go through every single thing today because there's a lot. But I want to tell you the overview so that you can use this stuff if you are very self-motivated to help yourself through. And first of all, let me just say I am sorry you had a breakup because it is so hard. It's one of the hardest things that you can have. So I was in Bustle a while back and they did an article about breakups. And this is what I said in that article. And I'll link to the article below if you want to read the whole thing because it has some other advice for people going through breakups. Relationships are soothing while breakups are just the opposite. Julie Melillo, life and dating coach, tells Bustle, your attachment system forms a bond when you fall in love. This person literally becomes a part of you because this attachment system exists in the brain. So then the article says, to understand why breakups are so hard, it's important to know the science behind falling in love. A 2010 study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine found that falling in love can be addictive due to the chemicals released from the brain. When you fall in love, your brain lights up and euphoria-inducing chemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, adrenaline, and vasopressin get released. These chemicals are responsible for making you feel attached to your partner. And then this is back to me again. To your brain, a relationship feels like someone feeding you delicious chocolate throughout the day, Melillo says. But during a breakup, the attachment system in your brain is ripped apart and basically goes haywire. It's why a breakup usually feels like a shock to the system and why getting over one isn't easy. So, with that in mind, that gives you some context of like what's going on with you, why it's so painful. That says it pretty well, why it's so painful, right? So don't beat yourself up if you're having a hard time with this. Everyone has a hard time with it. And there are 3 different aspects that I want to address today. Things that you definitely should not do, things you should avoid. This card is about feeling your sadness and the importance of that and why that's not a weakness, and that's actually going to get you ahead of the game if you do this, and then how you build a great new life. Now this is the cool thing, we can do all 3 of these things at one time. We don't have to wait. And it's weird because we're doing opposing things. Like you would think building a great new life and feeling really sad couldn't happen at the same time, but they can. You can do both at one time, not literally one time, but like in your day, you can have a good cry session. You can also, at a different part in the day, take a positive action that moves you forward. So my main message is don't block out your feelings because you think that, oh, if I feel sad, I'm going to get stuck and I'm never going to move forward. So I'm going to give you guys a way that you can do both, so that basically we're trying to give you as much cushion to help with the pain, and we're also trying to move you forward as fast as possible so that you have a life that is awesome. Now, the good thing about breakups, as terrible as they are, as bad as they feel, the good thing about them is that they shake you up and they get you out of that routine, they get you out of that comfort zone, and then you can really build the life that you want instead of just kind of going with a life because it's there and because it's what you're used to. It's painful, but typically what people find is like after the breakup, they'll find that they created a life that they actually like a lot more. So, some of the things you might be feeling right now if you've had a breakup recently are sadness, anger, loneliness, fear, insecurity, worry about your self worth, depression, and anxiety. And you might be flipping and flopping between these, which is totally normal, not only because you have good reasons to feel all these things, like you miss that person, but also because, as we talked about, you're basically dealing with an addiction, and any addiction is going to make you feel terrible. It can make you feel anxious and depressed. Just trying to break an addiction, like ask someone who's stopped smoking or someone who's given up sugar. I gave up sugar. It took me, I think, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks to fully break that habit, and I had to do it cold turkey. So, those are some things you might be feeling. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, because this is what everyone wants to do, people just want to, like, okay, how do I just make the great new life real quick so I don't have to feel the pain? You're still going to have to feel the pain. We'll get to that in a second, but let's do the more positive one first. So, the things that you can do to powerfully create a new life are to focus on giving yourself some structure, and you can do this in a lot of ways. An easy one is just to create a little bit of a routine. You don't have to get too crazy with the structure, but even having a few things you do every day, that routine is very comforting, and comforting things help to kind of cushion against some of the, jarring bad feelings. So maybe you wake up every day and you have like a list of affirmations right by your bed that you read that are things that just like make you feel good. Anything positive, maybe you have like, I don't know, cute animal pictures or just something happy that you look at right when you wake up every morning. And then maybe before bed, there's something else you do. Maybe read a certain book or listen to music or meditation music. But if you do those things every day, even if it's only a minute or two, it's very comforting to your brain to have those kind of routines. And if you already have routines that you like, keep those, because that will give you that continuity that we all need. So routines are a good thing. What else? And of course, it's a really good time to focus on your health and exercise. That can help you with some of the things like depression and anxiety. And of course, you don't want to get too crazy with it. You don't want to do it out of ego or out of trying to look perfect. You just want to do this as like a self-care thing to just help you feel better. So look for things that aren't really like a competitive exercise. Maybe even exercise alone, or go walk in the park, or something like that. Go to the gym and swim by yourself when it's not busy. This is just for you. This isn't for competition or being perfect or looking perfect. It's just for getting those stress hormones out of your body. So any kind of exercise is good. Also focusing on your diet is huge. Stress depletes a lot of nutrients from your body, and you want to replace those and like have a lot of vitamins, minerals in your foods. Make sure you're like eating well, because that's a very turbulent thing that happens. Other things that you can do to really strengthen your life are to add in a few social things, and this can also be part of your routine. Like, for example, maybe you make Tuesday night girls' night and you guys go out and get a drink after work, or go to a cafe, or go to dinner after work or something. Or maybe you do the same thing, you have a guys' night, or you join a bowling league on Sundays, or anything like that that's social. And if you can have a routine, it's even better. You can look forward to that. And again, it gives you that feeling of continuity, which is really important. It's also a really good time to focus on your career because you're going to have some extra time after a relationship ends. May as well use that for something positive. So I remember years ago, I had a breakup, and it was like the first time I actually didn't mind working on the weekend a little bit, or evenings. I always really like was against that, and I like would not want to work on the weekends. But I actually was like, oh, maybe I can get ahead on some things. And I would take my like work laptop to cafes, and I actually really liked that because it was not only something to do, it was kind of distracting and positive, and it also helped my career. In addition to that, this was years ago, like when I was a writer, copywriter, and I also started doing some freelance at a company that was like cool with that. And a lot of people there had freelanced. And I was like, kind of like, oh, that's really cool. These people freelance. Like, how do I get into that? But I didn't really have time to look into it. And then when I had more time, I started looking into it, and I started getting like a couple of freelance clients, which also just like kind of made me feel better. It's kind of like a self-esteem boost when you can work on something that's positive. So those are all things that you can do to help strengthen your life that are positive, good things. You can also do affirmations, which are great. Thoughts that you want to be thinking about yourself, just a more positive, more objective way to see things. Okay, so next I want to talk about the things not to do. Don't do these things. Okay, avoid rebounds. This is the thing about rebounds. Now, it's not that a rebound couldn't work. It could, but you have some challenges here. If you're jumping into something new really soon, the first thing is that you're avoiding a lot of this guy. And so you're putting off the inevitable. These feelings are going to come up at some point. I think of it as taking a bucket of water, and each time that you cry or you feel sad, it's like a drip drops out of that bucket. And you have to empty that bucket before you're going to get rid of this sadness. You have to feel it to heal it. So if you're doing a rebound, you're going to just put off the inevitable feelings. That's one thing. The other thing is the energy is just super weird. When you're coming out of a relationship and you're jumping into something, it's just a weird energy. So the people that are attracted to that weird energy, I'm not saying it couldn't work, but there might be something up with it. You might attract people who aren't necessarily the healthiest. I'm not saying 100%, but a lot of the time you're looking to like numb that pain, to avoid that pain, and to have someone sort of replace that person. And people that are like down with that might not be in the best place themselves. And then one of two things can happen. You can have a breakup from your rebound, so then you have twice as much pain that you have to deal with. You have two buckets you need to empty with each tear, which you're making more work for yourself. The other thing that happens is you might jump in like, okay, yes, my pain is gone. And then this person really wants to commit to you. And at that point, you might step back and be like, wait, what was I even doing? I was just numbing my pain. Do I even like this person? And then you might cause a lot of pain to someone else simply because when you're running from pain, your decisions and your actions are not going to be the best for yourself and for other people. So those are some reasons. And it's not that you can never date or anything like that. It's not that a rebound couldn't work out. But most of the time, you're going to have stuff like that going on. Okay, so you also want to avoid, like I said, thinking there's something wrong with being sad. It's really common that people think if they're sad, if they're crying, they'll think like, oh no, I'm going to feel like this forever, or I'm never going to move forward, or I'm dwelling and I don't want that. I just want to like jump ahead to the perfect happy time. But you have to understand, if you are feeling it, you're doing the hardest work that there is. You're doing the heavy lifting, you're healing. And when you heal, that means that in a year, you're going to feel great. You're going to be happy. You're going to be free. You're not going to give your ex another thought. When you ignore this, you become that person that like 10 years down the road, you're like, I wonder what my ex is doing. I wonder if they still think about me. Like, you don't want to be that person. You want to be totally healed. So that's why this is actually the most important part. And if you're struggling with it, things like therapy can really help with that aspect. Okay, another thing I want to touch on right now as far as avoid is be careful with health stuff, as far as it's very normal after breakups to lose a lot of weight and or gain a lot of weight. Sometimes both happen. Sometimes you lose weight first and then you gain weight. Usually people lose the weight when they're sort of like in shock after that breakup, and then they will gain a lot of weight as their body is trying to make serotonin, which makes you crave carbohydrates, and you can pack on a lot of pounds. So the thing to avoid here is basically like just being too strict with yourself. Like, you want to be healthy and always choose an option that will be like in your best interest for your health, but don't beat yourself up if it doesn't go perfectly as planned, because you have some like very powerful chemicals working in your body and it's temporary. This will not be forever. But if you're in a state of shock, you just might not feel like eating for a while. You might lose some weight, and that's not always a good thing, especially if you're losing muscle. That can be unhealthy. I know one of my breakups, I think I lost like 10 pounds, but it was all muscle. I was so bummed because I just felt like a stick. And I don't feel good like that. I didn't feel healthy. So be aware of that and just be careful not to judge yourself too harshly for anything as far as that, and try to just avoid getting like obsessed with food or exercise. Avoid anything where you're trying too hard to be perfect. This is not the time to be perfect. This is the time to be human and to heal and have a lot of love for yourself and acceptance for yourself. That said, be as healthy as you can. Always make the choice. Like, if you were going to make a choice for someone else that you really, really loved, what would you choose? Would you give them the box of 20 donuts to eat? Or would you maybe make a really delicious but healthy meal, right? I mean, that's the kind of thinking that you can do. And it's not about beating yourself up. It's just, you know, how can you nourish yourself and make yourself healthier? Because you're going to need that to endure some of these bumps in the road, especially when you're having like these moments. And when you give yourself all those vitamins and minerals and healthy proteins and healthy fats, that can really help a lot. With that, okay, so this one's a little funny. Avoid making dramatic decisions like getting a crazy haircut that you would never normally get. If you really want a crazy haircut, you will still want that haircut after you've healed a little bit. You still will. But I can't tell you like how many times, like, it's happened to me too. I remember like wanting to just like chop off all my hair, and like I remember I went to my hairdresser and I was like, I just want to chop all of it off. Like, not like a Britney Spears thing. I didn't want to shave it, but I wanted like basically a tiny, tiny pixie cut. And my hairdresser, she was just like, honey, no, like, let's wait. Let's see. If you still want that next time you come in, we'll do it. But I know you just had a breakup, so let's wait. And she was so right, because you know what happened is after a few months, I like seriously never again thought of a pixie cut. It has never appealed to me for a second. I don't even want it. And maybe someday I will, but like, I like my hair. And the problem is you might get that pixie cut thinking that's going to make you feel better, and then you might not like it, and then you have like one additional problem on top of the rest of the problems, and you don't want to be like crying about your hair at the same time you're crying about everything else. And that goes for tattoos, dyeing your hair like a crazy bright green or whatever, if you really want that tattoo or that hair color, you will still want it in a few months when things are a little bit calmer. Also, avoid doing things, and these are common things, guys, So don't beat yourself up if you've done these things, but just if you haven't yet, maybe wait a little bit and see. Avoid dramatic moves. Sometimes people are literally running away from the pain, and so they will be like, oh, I'm just gonna up and move somewhere. And this is the problem with this. There's nothing wrong with up and moving if you really want that. But same with the haircut. Let's wait a little while, get past the pain, and if you still want it, it's the right choice for you. But just upping and moving just for the sake of moving, like if someone asks you, why are you moving to Hawaii? And you can't answer that question, you're just like, I don't know, I just am. Like think about that. That could really be a bad thing for you if that's not really what you want. Same thing for anything that's just drastic. Avoid drastic decisions until your emotions come a little bit closer back to the real you. Because in a breakup, it's turbulent, it's all these ups and downs, and it's not really the real you. You're healing from an addiction. You're like in rehab. Is rehab when you're just like crawling on the floor, like, oh, I miss that whatever I'm trying to quit? Is that the time to be like, let me really think about where I want to live right now? Like, no, you're not thinking straight. You're not thinking the way that you normally would. So you don't have to wait forever. You just want to wait a little while for that pain to die down a bit so that you can have like a sound mind again. And so yeah, people will randomly move, they'll randomly quit their job, they'll randomly be like, oh, I'm gonna go apply and get a master's degree. And it's like a lot of the time there's nothing behind it except just running from something. Like I've heard of people who go and they take all the tests to get into grad school, but they don't even really want to go to grad school, so they just took all these tests and paid all these fees sort of just for no reason. And hey, that's cool. If you really want to go to grad school, that's great. But if you're doing it just again to run away from the pain, then if you're thinking, well, what else do I do if I don't want to run away from the pain? I don't want to just suffer. Well, you don't have to suffer. You just want to make some time every day to feel your pain. And you want to also build up your life with things that you really do want, things that really are you. And that can take a little while to figure out. So that's the thing. Just don't do anything drastic right away, but still do positive things that are building you up in a good direction. Okay, so yeah, just make sure it's stuff that you want. And some other things about rebounds that I forgot to mention are, I'm just reading my notes here. Not only is the energy weird of a rebound, but you're not going to be able to help comparing things to your ex. You're going to like sort of expect this person to do things that you liked from your ex, and you're going to not necessarily like that they're their own individual, because you're going to be comparing that, like, oh, my ex didn't do that, or, well, my ex always made me cookies on Friday night. Why is this person not making me cookies? And it doesn't really give that person a chance to be seen as an individual, is one thing. And it's sort of trying to like insta replace someone. It's like making a person into instant pudding. You don't want that. You want like a real person, the whole thing. And yeah, you need time to heal, and you also have to look at the fact that just go slow. Go slow if you're dating at all. It's better to take a break and like set your new life up as far as scheduling time to be sad, scheduling time to work on building your new life, making sure you're avoiding any pitfalls. But if you are going to date, take it slow. don't jump in. And a lot of people do. They jump in and they're like, oh, let's commit, let's get engaged, let's move in together. And again, we're just running from pain, and you don't necessarily know if you even like that person. If you really do, you still will once you've healed from the pain. But another person sometimes can even prevent you from healing from the pain because you've just distracted and jumped into it. A lot of men do this. Not only men do this, women do as well, and some men don't do this, but um, there are a lot of guys that will just get a rebound or focus on some other girl, or maybe get obsessed with some girls on Instagram or whatever, and then like all of this bikini models posts and try to get a date with her because they're distracting from that pain. But then a lot of guys will never really heal from it because they are not making the time to heal, or they don't know how to feel their feelings. Well, this is how you do it. You just feel it, and you just, okay, I'm sad. Okay, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to be sad forever. I'm just going to be sad right now. That's really what you do. If you have a lot of trouble doing that, therapy can help you. Some people have trouble feeling their feelings. They're afraid to, or they have trouble naming their feelings. So they're like, I feel something bad, but I don't know what it is. And therapy can help you with that. So yeah, be aware of any distraction, whether it's a rebound, whether it's upping and moving to Alaska. Anything that's preventing you from feeling the negative feelings is not going to be good. And be proud of yourself. If you have felt negative feelings, that is time well spent. I know it doesn't feel like it at that time when you're suffering and you feel terrible. But again, you are building a new body, really, because you're getting all those chemicals out of the old you that, things have changed. And so you have to adapt to that. You're breaking an addiction to the past so that you can enjoy being in your present. There's nothing wrong with your present. You're okay with where you are. And then things will be okay in the future too. I wanted to share a couple quotes with you guys. There's a Rumi quote. I love Rumi. He's a poet. And he says, everything you lose comes around again in another form. Now, this does not mean that you can replace people. I want to make that clear because you can't replace people. People are not replaceable. But what this quote means to me is that love is endless, and love can come to you in many different forms. So let me read that again. Everything you lose comes around again in another form. Rumi. So basically, you've never really lost anything. Sometimes things have to go in a different direction, and that's a good thing, and it never feels like a good thing in the moment. But like for me, when I look back at all the painful breakups that I've had in my life, and there have been aplenty, it's like you're so confused and you're so sad in that moment. You just can't make sense of it. Like, how could this not have worked or whatever? But when you look back years down the road, it does make sense. And it's like, okay, now I get it. Like that just, we weren't on the same path in life. And whether you're the one who's trying to save it or you're the one who's ending it doesn't really matter, because the fact is somebody was going to end it. Somebody had to end it. It had to end if those paths are just not the same. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that people really do have different sort of missions in life, purpose in life, and what feels right to you in life. It's almost like you have a different rhythm and just a different path to follow. Some people are meant to go in the same direction, some people are not. And it's so hard to not take a breakup personally, because it is so personal, of course, but it's really not. It's really not personal, because the truth is, it's just, I keep doing something with my arm. That's such a weird sound. It's like I put my arm bone on the table. That's so creepy. It's like my skin against my bone. That's creepy and weird. Okay. Back to the topic at hand. It's just weird how your whole life you can never have made this weird sound with your arm, and then all of a sudden, it's like, have you ever dropped something and you're like, wow, I've never dropped anything in quite that way before? And it's just kind of amazing. Like, I've gotten to this age without that ever happening. So anyway, sometimes things are just not meant to be, and that's okay. And remember that you don't really lose anything in life. You don't. You haven't lost anything. You have everything. Things just might look a little different on the surface, but you still have you, which is the most important thing. You still have everything good about your life. It's just a change. It's different. It looks different on the surface, but everything's fine, because in the end, you're going to have every single thing that you need and want in life. And this time, it's going to be what's actually meant for you, what's actually right for you. And you can't have that with something that isn't meant to be with somebody. Even if they really want it to work, if it's just, if you're broken up, it's for some reason. There's something that isn't working. So that's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. Okay, so I just want to tell you some things that that I did after some breakups that really helped me. And sorry, my notes are like jumping around. Okay. So like I said, for the first time, I didn't resent doing some work in the evenings and weekends, and I actually kind of liked it. And I kind of got a little more excited about my job. Instead of kind of dreading Monday, I was excited for Monday because I had all this free time. I didn't know what to do with myself, which is a common thing with breakups. And this is a really old breakup I'm talking about, but I've had quite a few in my life. I'm 38, so I've definitely had quite a few breakups in my life. Okay, and that did help my career. So that's the weird thing. All this pain and all this awfulness, it can end up helping you in so many amazing ways. But that doesn't mean you're going to feel happy right now. Which is important to know too, that you don't have to be happy about this, and you don't have to feel great on a daily basis for things to actually be really great and for things to get even better. It's a weird thing, but I think it's important to not put pressure on yourself to just feel perfectly happy all the time, because that's not allowing this to happen. Remember, those drops have to drip out of that bucket one by one, and this is how you do it. You don't do this by slapping a fake smile on yourself and trying to be happy when you're not. That's just suppressing it. Okay, I also started freelance writing, like I said, which I ended up doing that after I left that job. I started I started freelance writing full time, actually, later on down the line, and that would have never happened if I didn't start small and just get a couple clients. Okay, I started cooking. This is such a nice thing to do for yourself, especially when you're just sad and you're like, oh, I feel so sad. I just want a treat, And of course, you can order food or whatever too, but there's just something really nice about picking out ingredients, making your favorite meal. And I never really cooked that much before, but that was kind of when I started getting more into cooking. It's just something they call it self-care, but it's basically just anything nice you do for yourself reminds you that you're important, you're special, you deserve nice things. And making a nice meal just for yourself. Now, I mean, you might feel sad too, because you're like, oh, I remember when we used to eat mashed potatoes. Oh, it's so sad, And you'll laugh about these things 5 years from now. But right now, they're not funny. Right now, they're just sad. And you might very well cry about the fact that, he liked spinach, and now I'm eating spinach alone. You might be sad, or you might be the spinach is amazing, and I used to wait for him to cook the spinach, but now I can cook the spinach myself. And that's a good feeling. I remember after one breakup, a different one, years ago also, I used to go on this boat back in Arizona with a group of friends, and my ex would always drive to this lake, and I had no idea how to get there. and this was in the days of maps, not even MapQuest. It was like literal maps, and I didn't know how to get there, and I didn't really know like what food to bring because we would grill on this boat in Arizona. It was this thing that would tie all the boats together, and you would like walk from boat to boat. Anyway, so I remember after that breakup, the first time, it's like I wanted to go on this boat and they invited me, but I was like, I don't even know how to drive there. I don't know how to buy the boat food. I was like in the grocery store staring at all the cheeses, like I've never bought sliced cheese before in my life, and I have no idea which one to buy. And I just stood there like, I don't know what to do. It was so silly and funny. But this is what you do in breakups. Like, there are things you don't know how to do, and that's okay. You can learn. Take the pressure off. I remember just wanting to ask, like, strangers, like, how do I know what cheese to buy? Like, there's like 30 different kinds of sliced cheese. Well, you know what happened? I just picked one of them up. It was totally fine. I got some cheese and meat. I got out the map. I highlighted the route. I drove there, and I was like scared because I didn't know how to get there, and I get lost, and I was way younger back then. I got even more lost back then than I do now. And you know what? I got there, I went on the boat, it was all great, it was a nice day, and I felt like so good. I felt so empowered. But you have to feel bad first. You're not just gonna like only feel strong and good. It doesn't work that way. You have to feel kind of weak to feel strong, and that's okay. Um, so I started cooking. That was a long aside. But yeah, that's a nice thing you can do for yourself, especially if they're like tasty, good meals that are like healthy, but they're delicious. I just love that stuff. I also got a personal trainer for one of my, this is like a lot of breakups. I'm just like smushing them together. There was one where I like lost 10 pounds of muscle. I was not happy about that. So I went to a personal trainer, and in like a month, I gained so much muscle. I couldn't believe it. This trainer was just brilliant. And I was so happy about it. You know, I felt better. It was a distraction. It was like a mood boost from all the exercise. It was healthier. It's important to safeguard your health in times of stress because your immune system gets lower. So exercise or good foods help raise your immune system, and you know that keeps you from getting sick. A lot of people get sick during breakups. It's not the end of the world, but hey, if you can prevent it, why not? So I got a personal trainer. It was also like a social thing to do. It was structured so I could like look forward to that each week. And my trainer was just a really nice person, so we would just like chat, and that sort of like got my mind off things. Um, and anyway, so that was good. He was a really nice person. Helped me a lot with that. So I also went on some trips with friends, and that was also fun. And it was just nice to like have fun with friends, see a new place. At one point, I went to Vegas with a group of girls, which I had been to Vegas a bunch of times before because I'm from Arizona, so that's like a very short flight or drive. But I went with some girls from New York, and they had never been, so because it's farther from New York, and it was super fun. It got my mind off it, and like we did some like Hamptons trips and some beach stuff, and you know that was nice. I also at one point I started getting like nicer haircuts, and I would get manicures, which isn't something that I normally did, but I was looking for things that were treats but were like healthy. I didn't want to like get a treat that was a bag of cookies and binge on that, you know, because that's just not good for your health. So I was looking for things that were fun and felt like luxurious but weren't bad for my health. Super important. I would also go and get massages. That can be really good too because after a breakup, you're used to so much personal touch and then you have like none, and it can be kind of shocking for your body. Um, so, I mean, seeing friends is good too. Simply just like hugging people is good. But, you know, you don't want to be a weirdo with your friends and just like lingering too long. So, getting massages can be a really good thing just to like have that human connection is important. So, that's all stuff that you can do. And another thing I want to talk about is just allowing the love into your life because sometimes especially in breakups, you can get tunnel vision and you just think about that person so much, which isn't bad because that is part of what's going on with this. That kind of has to happen. But you can forget all these good things that are around you. You cannot even see how much love is trying to come into your life. And when I say love, I mean from all places, as far as friends, family, all of just supportive people who want to help you out and be there for you. You can push that away or not even see that that's there because you're so focused on that past. So again, you kind of have to be to feel your pain, but do some conscious work to remember that there's good stuff there. There's good people everywhere. And if you're like in line at the store staring at your phone, focused on your ex, maybe you're stalking your ex's Facebook and you're at line in the store, you might not notice that there's, maybe there's someone trying to talk to you in line or someone who's making a joke or just being friendly. You might not even notice that because you're just staring at your phone. So that's a way that you can also consciously make some changes. So yeah, that's all stuff that you can do. And also another thing that I really like to do was just cleaning my apartment just for me, not for like guests, not for oh my like significant other's coming over, I'm gonna clean, as a lot of people do, but just for me so that I can enjoy it, so that I can walk across the room and not like go flying because I tripped on like shoes or something. It's nice to be able to enjoy your space and have that be something that you look forward to, like your sanctuary. Um, and so many people like don't clean until someone's coming over, which shows that you're not valuing yourself enough because you're a person too. You should be able to clean for yourself. So that was something that I started doing that I really liked because then when I would come home, it's like I would come home to a clean apartment. It wasn't like chaotic and depressing and messy. And a lot of people also will get depressed thinking things like, well, like, why should I bother cleaning now my boyfriend's not coming over? Or like, oh, my girlfriend's not here to complain about my dirty socks being everywhere, so I'll just leave them there. But don't make it about them. Make it about you and about the fact that you deserve a nice place to live. And I mean nice in terms of it being clean and organized. And so it can be a good time too to like clean out closets, doing things that are physical, like organizing, cleaning can be a good way to sort of deal with chaotic times because you're just sort of putting things in their place and you're, you know, I don't know, cleaning out a closet is sort of similar to the process of going through a breakup also. You're kind of cleaning things out and making room for something wonderful and new. So you clean your closet and you have this, oh, I have space now. I have space. Maybe I should get a cute new coat. Maybe I should get some cute new clothes to put in that space. You don't have to do it right away, but that's basically what a breakup is. You've made space. It's sad. It is. It's a tragedy. Every breakup is a tragedy. It is very sad. It's also a beautiful thing because your future is beautiful. And so what comes to you in the future is amazing. But you have to just know that. You have to know it feels like the end of the world, but it's really not the end of the world. It might be the beginning of your world, really. Because sometimes the wrong relationship can really hold you back. But yeah, so it's a kind of a weird process that I do because I do everything all at once, both things. So you're like, wait, how can I do both? But this is how it works. When you feel bad, you just let yourself feel bad. So if you're at work and you get really sad and you're like, oh, I remember when we went to the museum. Oh, I'll never find anyone as good as them. You just let yourself feel that. You feel the sadness. You don't push it away and you don't say like, no, I've got to be strong. You feel it and that's fine. And you let it stay there. If you want to be sad all day, you're sad all day. That's okay. But at some point it will fade and it really will. And then you pull out the next thing. Okay, well, I'm getting a little bored being sad. So I think I'm going to schedule a salsa class. I'm going to go to a salsa lesson. I'm going to go to a salsa lesson every Wednesday night for an hour and a half, and that way it's going to be social. I can look forward to it, and that gives you just this little feeling of like, oh, that'll be fun. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. And so even when you're crying and you're like, oh my God, this person was perfect, you're also like, but that salsa class will be fun though. That'll be nice. Okay, now I'm crying again. But yeah, that will be kind of a fun thing. And then what will happen over time as you drain that bucket of tears, it's so sad, guys. I really feel for you if you're going through this. It's like the worst thing, but it's also the best thing because you're now open to create your best life. But as you drain those tears, eventually what you'll find is that that bucket is getting empty and the pain is so much less that it's not like 100% gone, but it's not ruling your life anymore. And then you have set up this amazing life that is really great. And whether you immediately meet someone else or not, you'll be fine. You'll like your life. Like I'm single right now and I like my life, I don't cry about anybody. And like that's a nice feeling for me personally. Like it's nice to just feel calm and neutral and centered, enjoy all the stuff that I create, all my interests and friends and doing stuff. And while I'm open to meeting the right person, definitely, and I know what my goals are and all that, I just feel like okay with it. I don't feel like bad about it. And that's what you'll create when you have your life set up and all that. So you can do these things at the same time. And just one more thing, and of course I'm just giving you guys the overview. I know it's hard to like grasp everything I'm saying in detail because like this is life coaching stuff, and I mean I work with some people for months and months just on this. So I'm not expecting you guys to like perfectly like do everything I've said and grasp all of it. I'm just saying anyone who's very self-motivated out there, this is better than nothing to do it yourself. It's way easier if you have a coach, and again, you have this person you're seeing every week, which is also part of your structure, and just kind of making sure that you're getting a good balance between these two things. But if you can't do that, if you don't have the money for it, or you don't have the time for it, or whatever, this gives you some tools that you can use. So the next thing is make a list of your negative thoughts and then challenge them. So you might, because you know what, this guy is a liar. The feelings are important to feel, but the thoughts that go with these feelings are usually wrong. It'll tell you something like, oh, I remember when we went on that hay ride, and then we laughed about the scarecrow. Oh, look at that scarecrow, and I will never find a love like that ever again. No one else would think a scarecrow was funny except for that person. This is a tragedy. And so like if you write that down, I will never again find love, I will never again find, then you need to challenge that. That's not true, guys. That's not true. That's the sad face talking. That's the kind of stuff the sad face says. It's not really true though. So then you need to flip it and say, I'm very sad right now. I need to mourn this, but I will eventually find love again and it will be amazing. And I don't need to worry about that. So you can like carry a notebook around. Like I love these little notebooks, or you can have it on your phone. Like I have a note-taking app on my phone. I was just reading that stuff out of that actually. Well, you can't see that, but yeah, I have notes there. And you can just type these things out and then either right away or later on come back and edit those and change the untrue things, the negative untrue thought, to a actually true thought that is supportive of your goal. You don't want to lie to yourself. Like you don't want to be like, I feel sad. Oh, but I'm a supermodel. If you're not really a supermodel, you don't want to lie to yourself. You want to make sure that your truths are actually true, but you want to get rid of any like just distorted negative thoughts because the pain can distort your thoughts. So that's another thing that you can do. And also just know that in time you're not going to feel the same way that you do now. Like obviously after a breakup, you have really intense pain, and that does not last forever. It actually lasts a very short time. And you'll find that if you just let the feeling be there, if you just, it's okay that that's there. That's part of being human. That's part of life. That doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have a great future. It doesn't mean you're not going to have a great present. And that's usually the anxiety from the addiction aspect of this that will pop up and say, you're never going to be happy again. It's always going to be terrible. You're never going to have anyone love you, or you can have low self-esteem and like, oh, you look terrible. No one will love you ever again. Do you like my funny little voice I'm doing? Like, it can really help to put this thing in a funny, silly voice, because that's what it is. None of these things are true, but they're just common things that you feel when you're pulling yourself away from this relationship that you were addicted to, because relationships like kind of should be addictive. That's part of bonding, but that bonding is not really helpful for you after the fact. So let the bad feeling be there, but change the thought into something more positive. And I know it's hard. I know it's really hard, guys. So just go easy on yourself. Don't expect perfection in any of the things I'm talking about. If you made some mistakes, okay, you're human. Like, so you chopped off your hair and you dyed it green, you got a tattoo, and you just married your rebound, and like, who knows? Maybe you have done all those things, but regardless, try to prevent what you can, right? But just do your best is what I'm saying. That's all you can do is your best. If you do want individual coaching to go through week by week so that we can stick to all of this stuff really well and make really accurate plans that match your goals, and that, obviously when I work with someone one-on-one, we can be really individual with all these things. I'm giving you a really general overview, but a lot of the things I've mentioned, maybe you don't have problems with all of those. Maybe you have some additional problems that are really bugging you, and we can address all that in individual coaching. So if you live in Manhattan, I meet clients in person on the Upper East Side, and then it is virtual for everything else. If you live in other parts of the country or other countries, we can also do virtual coaching as well. So go to yourdreamslifecoach.com, fill out the contact box, and send me an email. And then I will email you back with my rates and all the information of how it works. So in closing, I just want to say that, breakups are hard. Give yourself a hug, really, guys. Like, you're not going to be in pain forever. It is going to be okay. Just take a breath, hang in there, and just remember all the awesome good things about yourself, because that's one thing that can be hard to remember after a breakup. But you really are still loved. Like, the universe loves you, and if nothing else, the universe loves you. And you probably have a lot of people in your life who love you too. And like I said, don't ignore that. Don't ignore even the strangers that want to be friendly to you. The dog on the street that's like smiling at you. There's love for you everywhere. You just have to let it in. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.